First, a bit about our group for those of you that might be unfamiliar with who we are. The UGA chapter of the American Meteorological Society is a student organization here on campus. We seek to promote all areas of atmospheric sciences among UGA students, faculty, and within the local community. Our chapter is closely tied with UGA's atmospheric science program, which is a small but closely knit program of students and dedicated professors based in the Department of Geography. It's important to note, though, that UGA AMS is based of not only atmospheric science students, but students that are interested in weather and climate within the UGA community. Each month we sponsor a speaker, or field trip, or some other educational activity to promote the academic and social growth among our members. We also strive to maintain a presence within the local community, and we sponsor things like teaching school groups about weather and climate, and we participate in severe weather awareness fairs here on campus. If our AMS chapter sounds like something you'd be interested in joining, feel free to talk to me or any of the other officers, or check out our website at ams.uga.edu. And now, UGA Geography and Atmospheric Science Professor John Knox will introduce our special guest.
Thank you. Today we're very happy to have Ginger Zee with us, and I'd like to introduce Ginger in a kind of a visual, pictorial kind of way. But first I'd like to say and make an announcement that is just coming over the wire. This is a red letter day for atmospheric science here in Athens in two ways, not just Ginger's visit, but this morning UGA became the 78th member of UCAR, which is the University Corporation for Atmospheric Research. And the easiest way to understand what that is it's the FBS of meteorology, if you're a football fan. It means we've made the big time and we're part of the elite programs. And so this is an exciting day because not just is Ginger here kind of proving that on one hand, but out in Colorado, my wife Pam, Alan Stewart from the Department of College of Education, Department of Counseling, who is also part of our atmospheric science program, and Geography Department Head Tom Mote are all at meetings operating at the highest level of meteorology. And one secret of our success during just the 12 years of the program here has been the sharing of resources, expertise, and connections. Our attitude has always been, it's not mine, but it's ours. And so that brings us to today's speaker, who is not an alum of this program, but is fast becoming a friend, I think, to everyone in this program. Once upon a time, at a college far away in Indiana that was named Valparaiso. Not Valparaiso, that's Chile. There was a new meteorology faculty member. That was me, before I had gray hair. I had grown up in Alabama, and I was looking to connect the students at Valparaiso with a really, really great TV meteorologist I had grown up watching back home in Birmingham named James Spann, who, by the way, just is winning both the NWA, National Weather Association, and American Meteorological Society Broadcaster of the Year Awards this year. One of the greats. So I was trying to connect students who needed jobs and experience with James. But I wasn't having much luck. I had a sign on my bulletin board that went just kind of tacked up there, fading and shriveled for months and months, even over a year, until a very sharp freshman meteorology major from Grand Rapids, Michigan, who came in, talked to me, and jumped at the chance. Now, I have to pull out a prop here that'll scare her half to death.
Oh, no.
Yep.
Oh, gosh. Is it a test?
No, not the test. The grade books. And so when Ginger came into my office, of course, I'm like, oh, yeah, let's check those grades. And Ginger will vouch that, yes, these are indeed the grade books that used at Valparaiso.
Wow.
And I looked and said, ooh, that's really good. Okay, so we were talking about somebody that was near the top of her class, and not just one, but yes, let me check it here. Yep, 2 classes. And so she jumped at the chance. I said, now, really, are you ready to go all the way from Indiana and Michigan down to Alabama? I've got some relatives down there that can help you with housing. And she said,
No, I'm good.
I'm good. And I'm like, all right. And what I was seeing was the very beginning of Ginger's ambition and fearlessness, which has served her well in her career so far. So,
oh my gosh!
This led to an internship.
No way!
Top 40 market experience, really top 2 severe weather experience. Only Oklahoma City has as much severe weather coverage as Birmingham. But it also introduced Ginger to Dreamland Barbecue, which which I think most of us in the South are aware of. And so these are pictures provided by a certain unnamed source, showing Ginger's very first experience of Dreamland barbecue.
I don't think I had red meat or any meat for like 4 years, and I was so worried about coming to Dreamland.
No meat for 4 years.
And now I love it.
We cheered her down. She probably even says y'all now. And this rapidly developed into an already stellar career in broadcast meteorology. After graduating from Valparaiso, Ginger worked in Grand Rapids, and then in Flint, and then back to Grand Rapids at WOOD-TV, yes, that's wood, where my in-laws raved about her, and so did all of Grand Rapids. They were very sorry to lose Ginger to WMAQ-TV in Chicago, where she took the city by storm. You can do searches on that and find out how popular Ginger was with the meteorology fans in Chicago. And then while she was there, she appeared on MSNBC and The Today Show. And then finally, boom, at age 30, is that right? Or yeah, right at age 30, just like she always promised, she made it to Good Morning America in New York City as the weekend meteorologist, but she's really kind of taking over 7 days a week if you watch Good Morning America. She was also a guest on Storm Chasers on the Discovery Channel. She's won a Regional Emmy Award for Best Weathercast in 2007-2008. She served as an adjunct professor at Valparaiso while she was in Chicago. She has the AMS seal of approval, obviously. She was named one of the top 150 most influential Valpo people by Valparaiso University on their 150th anniversary, and she is in the Rockford, Illinois Public Schools Hall of Fame. And so, in one of the best forecasts of my career, when I wrote my letter to James Spann way back when, in about 1999, early 2000, I said, ABC 3340 would greatly benefit, I believe, from Ginger's presence. She will do everything she's asked to do, will do it with a superb attitude, and will exude that special mix of joy and humility I associate with people who have their lives together in every way. And so I would like to welcome Ginger Zee.
I think it was on and went off.
She muted. I muted the other one. You said it backwards. I'm having trouble. Okay. Okay. I won't get out of here for a little bit. Perfect. It's happening. Okay, how y'all doing? I do say y'all now. Also, it just kind of works from everywhere in the country. You guys sometimes, here and there. So, again, that was a wonderful welcome, and I almost got teary-eyed, especially when I saw those photos. It seems like so long ago that I got to do this, and the reasons I've gotten here have been, it's like you forget at times in your life how you got to be who you are. But I think that's something that you should never forget. I think life is, so far, has been a series of really nice dinners with people, and I hope that it continues to be that way. The lunch that I shared with you folks today, I hope that's something that we can connect, and just as you said, the people that you connect to are going to change your life. Professor Knox being one of them. He changed my life. And that's what I want to really focus on here. This is a picture. Recently, we had Jessica Simpson, guest host. We have a new guest host. We had Stephen Colbert. Next week is Oprah. I'm name dropping because it's so cool that I work at Good Morning America now. I can't believe that I'm in this position, but it obviously didn't start here. I mean, this is not how people begin their careers. You don't just walk onto a set in New York City. You have to go to Birmingham, Alabama when you're 19 and start by someone else's inspiration. And that's what I hope. Maybe somebody in here wants to do this. Maybe someone in here can get something else, or maybe we can all have a nice dinner after this. I don't know. But that's what life is about, and that's what I'm hopefully by the end of this you'll gather. So you went over this kind of, so I don't want to bore you guys too much, but while I was in college, after I got back from my internship with James, I had a tape which most 19-year-olds don't have a tape. And there were auditions at the local PBS station to be a meteorologist. And I said, obviously, that's what I want to do. Because going into Valparaiso, which I'll tell you, I didn't think TV was my route. It obviously has been, because I've continued on to do all these other things, work on wonderful programs all across the country, and I've been so fortunate to do it. It all came from passion, though, and if I could say anything to anyone, it is take what you love, and you're probably already doing that in some capacity, but make it everything. For the students in here, you just can't run away from it. People quit so easily, and I think had I not had the mother I did. When I saw a water spout on Lake Michigan when I was 9 years old, and I stopped in my tracks and I stared like no kid should, because that's weird, real weird. She not only told me, sure, we can go to the library, and I spent every day looking at books about weather, but she fostered it and made it more and more. So I have to give her first thanks, because she let me know that weather is okay. It's a little bit of a weird passion, but it's okay. Most kids like doing hair or something, I don't know, different. But I liked this. So that's where the decisions begin, and that's where my decision began. I wanted to study meteorology. When I was in school, math and science were easy for me. I loved them, but I also took a class called TV Studio. And before Professor Knox, I had 2 years in high school where I had a teacher who told me, you know, you can do both. You love weather and you love this class that she was teaching, television studio. You can do both. Even at that point, my mom and parents are going, I don't know, that seems like a crazy idea to put those two things together. But when I went to Valpo, I said, well, let me just stick with the science, because I know that's a solid degree. I know I can go away from that using meteorology in something. And Valpo at that time especially didn't really have a big communications liaison between the two programs. So going there, I got a Bachelor's of Science in meteorology. I did minors in Spanish and math. I really didn't study communications at all. And that's why that poster, and that's why Professor Knox was so instrumental, because it changed my decision. I also did a class called Storm Chasing. That stuck me. That might be a part of why I chose Valparaiso, too. It was a little part of it. That's a much more recent tornado. This is, I don't know when. I'm losing track. That's when you know you've seen a fair amount. So I put a little picture of you in here, too. When I tell this story when you're not in the room, I'm going to tell you, I say it, I give myself a little, try to be humble, but I mean, he saw strengths in me that I didn't see. I had never worn makeup. I did not look like I should be on TV. Let's say that. It wasn't like outward that I wanted to do that, but it was definitely there. And I think I had the drive in there, but you found me in that too. Not that you posted that for me, but I felt like you posted it for someone like me, who had that in the back of my head, but I thought, never, I don't know. And then there it was in front of me, and you couldn't not pay attention to it. So I really want to thank you for not only the encouragement afterward and the consistency. I mean, we've stayed in touch. This is not something that happens all that often, and I know you do with a lot of your students, but that means a ton. And that meant a lot for me to go to my students, and now I understand why. Because it's like having kids, and when they get a job, it's like me getting a job. So a huge thank you, and you still inspire me to do more, because now I want to be, whatever talk is next, I want to have a even better intro. So I did the internship in Birmingham, and then I got crazy, because I was always that girl in the front row, like raising my hand, even when I didn't know the answer, that girl. I see her in elementary schools now, and I think, oh, honey, this is going to be a long road, but you're going to be okay. Don't stress yourself out too much. And I kept doing internships, because one wasn't enough. And when I did that internship, I had that connection, and that's why I got the internship. No freshmen get internships. I went to Grand Rapids. I did one at a Fox station. And then I was fortunate enough to do one at WGN in Chicago, which I'll talk about here. We already heard a lot about this guy. A lot of you probably know who he is, and if you've been anywhere around Birmingham, he is the end-all and be-all of weather. I went back to do a story recently, and you say half of his name, and people are like, Jason? And they jump on it. He is such a legend, and I remember doing the internship and thinking, of course I fell in love with it and wanted to do it. I did it with that guy. I mean, had I had the internship with anybody else, I don't know that I would have gotten as into it as I did. He is a true family man. He balances life with his career. He's a great meteorologist. He's amazing on television. He's so invested in his community, his church. All of these things
I've never seen that since. Certainly not on TV. People can't do what he does. He runs a side business. He makes money for his family and sends all of his 4 kids to college by doing extra every day. And that's because he loves it. And that's what it all comes back to for me, is if you really, truly love this passion like I do, it's going to work out somewhere. You just have to believe in that and in yourself. It's not always easy to do. That was the business and family. And he is Mr. Everything. That's how I would describe him. I don't want to take away from Tom Skilling, but he is Mr. Weather. That's how I would describe the difference. He loves weather so much, more than anyone I've ever met in my entire life. Reed Timmer being another one, I would have to put him up there. Both of them are on a certain level of wake up every other moment and think weather only. So, yes, Skilling's up there with that. He is so dedicated, and what I really learned from him was how to brand yourself, because that's what television and life is. It doesn't matter what job you are. It doesn't matter who you're going to meet. You're a product, and you are something you're going to have to sell, and you have to represent yourself the way that you want to be represented. So he taught me. I mean, this guy goes on television. Have any of you seen him? For 6.5 minutes, he puts 500 millibar heights on. He puts visible satellite at 10 p.m., which means you can't see anything because the sun is down. But it doesn't matter what he puts on TV. People think he's the smartest, which he is. They think he is the best, and he has put wool over everybody's eyes, not because he doesn't know what he's talking about, but he could put anything on the screen. They'd be like, that is brilliant. It's Tom Skilling. So he has this brand, and because you can tell. You watch this man, you know he loves weather. There is no chance in his face that you're missing the crazed passion. And that's something that I took from him, was don't hide that, let that out. So now my directors and floor directors and everybody joke, but I have something called crazy eyes when I get really excited about weather. They're like, Ginger, you did your crazy eyes again. I don't know. There's a certain look. They pause it and then put it up on monitors, and it's very embarrassing. So I graduate with all of these great internships, tons of experience, storm chasing the best professors in the world. And I send out 105 tapes right away, because I had a tape, because I'd been on TV for 2 years at PBS. Of course I was going to get a job. I didn't get a job for 9 months. Nobody wanted me on TV at all. And that's where I learned that perseverance, and where I was so driven. And my raising my hand first in class really paid off, because I found my way into places. I started doing radio way too young with a really gruff old group of guys who had been doing classic radio for a long time, and now they've become mentors. And see how my network was building. And that's what I would encourage everyone to do, is build that network. You're here now, and I don't even know if you really want to be, or if you really want to know me. But we could maybe network at some point in the future. You could say, I was there, I listened to your talk, I'm interested in this, or I want to know this person. I don't have Jessica Simpson's contact, but other than that, the perseverance continued. Obviously, I knew what I wanted to do. I also always encourage people to not avoid what you're good at. A lot of people think I need to be whatever it is. My dad always said doctor, because I think he came from the Netherlands when he was really young, 9 or 10, and doctor seemed very prestigious. So he always thought, you're very smart, you should be a doctor, or you should have your own business. And that's what he always said to me. And up until this year, when I got a job on Good Morning America, he's like, I think you made the wrong choice. Because the whole way up has been a struggle. There's not as much glamour in this job as people think, but I have loved every minute of it. And I would have been the worst doctor, because I don't care for bodies and blood and things. It's just not my thing. So I think not avoiding what you're good at. And it sounds lazy, because I mean, if math and science come easily to you, I say take more math and science. Not that you have to forget about the other side of things, but by this point in your college, if you're in college now, you probably already have kind of honed in on that. But don't be afraid if something else is blatantly easy for you and you really love it, even though you're studying something right now. I don't want your parents to get mad at me, but you may want to go check that out. At least do a job shadow. At least do an internship. Don't be afraid of what you're good at and what you love. Just do it. Because otherwise, I don't think you'll be happy. I'm so happy. I want to share it. Someone asked in the last little meeting that we had, what is your typical day? I wish I could tell you what a typical day is, let alone a typical week or a typical month, or what the last 10 years has involved, because the last 10 years I really have not been home for Christmas aside for one. And I took a flight in yesterday, or last year. This was my first Christmas at home, and then took a flight out that night. And it was just that quick. And that's the first time I've ever even been able to spend Christmas with my family. So there are a lot of sacrifices. There have been multiple times in this last year where I haven't had one day, let alone a shift off. So I've worked morning and night, 20-hour days, I'd say. And they are hard. And then I'm amazed that they keep going. It's like people aren't paying attention. I'm like, you guys know I haven't slept in 4 weeks, right? I mean, I'm not over-exaggerating this time. I really have slept 4 hours a night consistently for 4 weeks. They're like, yeah. No, we get it. And? And if you're at this level, you have to do it. So I think going on the way up, it's only gotten more and more challenging, but now I'm inviting that, and I know that there's going to be this payoff, because every day at the end of that 4 to 6 weeks or whatever it is, it really sinks in, the things I'm going to share with you, how much I've learned and how many people I've been able to meet. Something I know that was brought up when I asked, what will people in this room want to know? Some of you are interested in television. It's a weird business for a lot of reasons, contracts being one of them. Contracts are strange. So they own you, but they can fire you at any time. It's legally, if you bring it to any lawyer, they laugh every time. They're like, this would never hold up in court. But yet it does, and yet everybody goes by it. So it's something that I wish somebody would have warned me about, is you're going to be owned. And your likeness and your being and everything that you are for a long, long time is going to be someone else's. So you have to be ready for that. So that's why I wanted to put this little slide in there. It's really not up to you where you go or what you do. It all has to do with the length of the contract. So it could be a 2-year contract. It could be a 4-year contract. There was one point where I had a 4-year contract in Michigan. I got a call midway through, and I had been hired as a meteorologist, but the chief meteorologist who was supposed to retire didn't retire. And I ended up doing anchoring and reporting. And I was reporting on murder and things that I am not, like me being a doctor, not good. So, but it was a great experience, and I was trying to take every moment for it. But I got a call in the middle of that contract that said, we're in Chicago, we think you're perfect for this job. And instead of saying, oh, I'm in a contract, I was able to maneuver and work, and I had to pay off the contract, which was incredibly hard and expensive. But it all worked out. My whole point is that contracts are there and they're not going anywhere, and I wouldn't be afraid of them, but just be ready for them. Anybody who's going into TV. You can ask me more and email me later. This is my agent. He looks like a very nice man. He's not always. I did not have an agent until this job. So every contract before this I've negotiated myself with a family friend who's a lawyer, and it's been I've not done great. Agents are very helpful, but they also take a lot of your money. So it's something that I know I was asked also to talk about, that maybe some of you are wondering. I would wait until the very last moment. I was really fortunate because he followed me my entire career and gave me free advice. He got in contact with me when I was in Flint and said, I know you don't have any money. I just want you to know I want to represent you someday. I see your talent, and I want to be your buddy. 2 years pass, I get my job in Grand Rapids, and he's like, wow, that was a huge jump. Congratulations. You still don't need me, which is big, because most of these guys just want money and as many clients as they can get. He earned my trust because I negotiated myself to Chicago, and then he said, whoa, I can't believe you negotiated Chicago. That was a bad negotiation because I signed a 5-year deal for very little money. But I was just so excited, so it didn't matter. But then he helped me to get, it's not that he was helping me get jobs, he was helping me get what I wanted in a job. So I think it just takes a while to build that. So anyone who is going in, agents are nice, but I'd say I'd wait as long as you possibly can. Because, again, it's you. You want to represent you for as long as you're able to. Okay, so meteorologically, I do want to hit on a little of that weather stuff that I'm supposed to be doing. And Valparaiso had such a great undergraduate program. I learned more than I'll ever know now. I mean, I feel like I am getting dumber and dumber. Does anybody else feel like that? Yeah, it just keeps getting dumber. So I'm trying all the time to read as much as I can and stay with meteorology. But one thing I learned from Tom and from James is that you can't know everything. You can be specific to your region, but you can't know everything. So I've created kind of a network of people, and I'm trying to build that out so that they can be watching. I've got a young lady who worked in Helena, Montana, And she sends me information and pictures and things that I would never know about Helena, Montana. And then I'm able to tell stories about Helena, Montana like I'm there because she's there. And I've got somebody in the Outer Banks of the Carolinas. Places geographically that I am not forecast gold. I'll tell you that right now. I'm really good in the Great Lakes. Really good. As good as you can be around Lake Michigan. But when it comes to mountains, a lot of things, West Coast, I've kind of gotten into oddly and studied a little bit more than other things. But that's how I've decided to continue on my education. Since I'm not able to, every 3-4 days traveling, I'm not able to go to grad school yet. That's what I want to do. So meteorologically, I'm trying to stay in that way. I'm still learning a lot, though, topically. I get to a storm, and this is something I told the other group before. One of my favorite stories this year was really me coming in, and ABC News, I don't know how much, if any of you have watched it for a long time, it hasn't really been a weather hub by any means. They don't really do weather. They had 2 meteorologists, one on the weekdays and one on the weekend, mornings only. And those guys are great meteorologists. They're really good weather producers. And then they would have 1 or 2 people on TV that don't necessarily have a meteorology degree. They just are really good at television. So that's what ABC has done in the past. They wanted to up their game. They saw NBC buy the Weather Channel. They said, we can't have them have 65 meteorologists and we have 2 behind the scenes. We need to do that a little bigger. So when I came in to interview, we have this new regime of this whole, a couple of people have changed, the president, the vice president. A lot of things has changed at ABC News, and you can really tell, I think, if you watch their product. I'm part of it, so I think it's amazing. Really good choices they're making. But they are really into weather, which is huge. So for the first time, they're starting to listen to the meteorologists. They've never done that. The meteorologists could say stories all the time and let them know that a big story was coming. They would never have listened in the past. So I came in, I promised them, I will not only get you severe weather on television, because that's what they want is excitement, right? They want the passion, but then I'll teach people something. I would like to teach people something about weather, because that's what I like doing. I enjoy teaching, and I love weather and TV. So put all my favorite things together, and then you guys pay for it, and I'll go wherever I want to go. And that was kind of the deal. This job is my dream job, because March 2nd, when we had that outbreak of tornadoes, a true outbreak, it's one of the only times you can use the word if you have dozens of tornadoes in an area in the middle of, it was late winter. And it was just one of those events that you could see 5 days out. Remember this year? So I was still 4 months new or something, and I didn't really have the clout to do much before that. But this was such a big event, I said, I don't care. I'm writing the executive producer, Diane Sawyer's #1 person. I'm going to write the Good Morning America person, and the Nightline person. All of them are going to know. And I titled it just like producers need. They need words that flash to them, that mean something. I put, send me to Cincinnati, people will die Friday. It sounds terrible. It's awful, actually, to say that. But in a setup like that, for them to get the attention, and what my whole goal was to warn people. And I really think that I'm in the position now, I'm so lucky, that I have a background in meteorology, I have this great network of people, and now I have the people who could put it on TV and maybe millions of people could see it. It's the coolest thing ever. And I said, put me on TV, send me to Cincinnati. I said it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I said, I want a storm chase so that not only are we there first, because they love that, but we can warn people the day before. And they were like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Never in network television history has someone warned people the day before about weather. It just doesn't. Hurricanes, yes, that's different. But about severe weather. And that's something I'm so passionate about. So eventually there was a bunch of things that happened, but it was Thursday morning, I think, and the event was on Friday. I said, I'm leaving. I have to go to Cincinnati. And they had me in Worcester, Massachusetts, looking at 2 inches of snow, which was not what I wanted to be doing. So I booked my own flight, and I went to Cincinnati, and they put me on World News that night. And I said, Diane, tomorrow, this part of the country needs to be on alert. I had like 40 seconds. It was nothing. But it was 40 seconds that have never been done before. And the next day, 39 people died. And it's like that type of touch, meteorologically, isn't like I'm sitting there. I'm not getting 6.5 minutes to show them why it's happening. But at least we're building meteorology and weather behind a power like that. And it feels really good. So I want everyone to know that even though it may come off a little trite, whatever it is that I'm doing, I get 30 or 45 seconds, I think that it's building that way where we can bring science into the dinner, or to the dinner table when people are watching. I think we can start to teach. I was telling Matt on the way here, right, about the bee. I'm going to tell that story because it's so, I'm going way off topic. Sorry. This is a great story. Diane Sawyer is an amazing woman. She is so brilliant. And you sit across from her on that table, and I can't stop staring at her and thinking, this is Diane Sawyer. Oh my gosh. And I remember thinking that first time seeing her, she is so brilliant, but she's a little kooky sometimes. She loses herself in all of her brilliance, and she has a lot of thoughts going on, and she's so smart. And she sat at a meeting one day, and they had told me, do you guys know the Climate Prediction Center puts out their 3-month outlook? They do it, isn't it every month, or is it every, yeah, it's every month. They put out a 3-month. Happens every month. Some producers saw it, and they were like, hey, Ginger, you got to get in here. NOAA put out this summer outlook. It's amazing. It's going to be hotter in this part of the country. Really hot summer for Texas and Oklahoma. And I was like, oh, you guys, they put that out. So they've never had this person before to tell them. They would have done a story on the 3-month outlook that's never come out in the world before. So I was like, oh, no. That comes out all the time. That's not a story. It's just, and it's probably like 1/4 of a degree over a large swath or an area, so not a story. They're like, yeah, we still want you to come in, just talk us through why it's not a story. I killed it. Everybody around me was like, yeah, you're right, that sounds pretty benign. I go into the meeting, and Diane looks across the table, and she put her glasses down like that scary way, and she said, Ginger, tell me, what about the bees? And I was like, the bees? And she, again, you see that brilliance. She is so eloquent and so beautiful. And I'm going against what I was just talking about. People look at me, and they don't think I know what I'm talking about. She is so smart. And she said, the bees. And I was like, the bees? And I remembered reading about bees in San Francisco that had a wet and cold winter in San Francisco because of the position of the jet stream had made the bee swarms much bigger this year. And I was like, how is she connecting that? And then I started thinking about it. She said, why don't you tell the big weather story in a little bee? I was like, what? That doesn't make any... And then you start to think about it more. I'm like, that is the most elegant way to put a jet stream on national television ever. And so I did a whole 90-second piece on a climate, which no one's ever talked about, climate outlooks. And I was able to show and teach something that people didn't know through that bee. She is so smart about telling a story through through things that people connect to. There are bees all over cars. It's a great picture. It's a great video. How do we tell that? She said, how do you connect that? Why does that have anything to do with why Oklahoma and Texas are so hot? And I was like, well, it's drier there, the heat. And I started telling that story to myself, and that's the cool part. So the meteorologist who has worked there for 25 years, his name's Gerard, and he went to Lyndon State. He's a really good meteorologist. He said, Ginger, I cannot believe you just put that on TV. You put that on world news. You put a jet stream on network television, and it made sense, and it was so cool. So I feel like I'm going back to the beginning classes, but I'm teaching as many people, even if it's just at ABC, the producers, about weather. And that's what my job is now. So a year later, that's what I think I'm doing, is being able to teach the very basics. So I don't need to be doing the 500 millibar heights. I don't think I don't think we want to get there by putting those on TV. But I think that there is a purpose to this, and that's what I hope to continue to do. These pictures are from Henryville. Let's see. That's from the high school. One of my favorite chasers with me there. A radar image of, I save all of them. My phone it's so embarrassing. If I go on a date or something and I'll be showing them pictures of my family, they're like, what are all those colors? Why are you? I have just radar image after radar image. Anyway, so that's the one that eventually went to Henryville. I think that's before it gets there. And then here's me in another part of that storm. Let's see if we can play one. Am I doing okay on time? I went way off topic. Yeah. This is kind of a basic that I do. We'll all get a commercial here, of course. Sorry. So again, this is going to seem really trite and very small, but this is something that I would do a regular Sunday night. Oh wait, nope, this is Henryville.
Twisters that struck so much of the country over the weekend. There were more than 400 tornado warnings, and the death toll now stands at 39. You know that our...
Is it buzzing?
The team is there on the ground. ABC meteorologist Ginger Zee starts our coverage from the hard-hit community of Henryville, Indiana. Good morning, Ginger.
Good morning, Robin, and good morning, everyone. Covered in a fresh 2 inches of snow, the twisted, shredded town of Henryville is difficult to see this morning, but look at this scene around me. I am actually in someone's living room. And wait till you see the pictures we are about to show you. You'll get a sense of just how frightening it was to be in the crosshairs of this tornado.
Oh, no! Get back! There it is. Get over the hill. Mom, do we need to jump in the car? Get jump in the car. We're not hard. What? Mom, I'm talking. Come on, go. Get out. Get out. Get out.
Oh, my God.
Nature's fury caught on tape.
Back up.
These monster tornadoes, part of a violent line of twisters that demolished towns in 5 states, killing at least 38 people.
Unbelievable.
More than 100 tornado reports since Friday. At least 42 confirmed. This one packing winds as high as 175 miles per hour. This EF4 tornado did this to the town of Marysville, Indiana. The destruction we see from the ground is mind-numbing from above. Schools and homes annihilated.
This house is a good example of why you have to get to the lowermost part of your home. The top of that house is completely ripped off, and the bottom is intact. If they had a basement, that's even better. But that one, no one upstairs survived that.
The storm blasted at nearly 70 miles per hour from southwest to northeast, and get this, it wasn't alone. At least one other twister followed the same track just minutes later.
This is likely a place where it is a half a mile wide.
A half mile wide with no mercy for those in its path, sweeping foundations clean, even rearranging this lumberyard.
It's hard to see this from up here. 52 miles.
So that's just an example of, that one was, I've never done an aerial view after a big event like that. And I did another one, hang gliding, which was an interesting way to walk.
Welcome back to the
Go over. Hold on.
Oh
goodness. Oh gosh.
We busted out the big guns with Swanson flavor boot.
Okay. Swanson got a plug. So that was Henryville. That's just one example of something I do. You'll notice a lot of the words, and I like to explain this to meteorology students and people. In a big event like that, you can't really overhype because it was a huge event. I mean, but there are times where they want us to use big words. If I could tell you the number of times massive is used in our shows, it's a drinking game. I mean, it's like, and you can only edit so much because there's something about television that people tune into when they hear big words. So it's a fight back and forth. They call me at work the accuracy Nazi, which is terrible to say, but that's because I'm so serious about getting it right. Just you'd think that would be a good thing. And then they call me the story killer, mostly. So I am a person who comes in and tells them it's not a story, which I'm proud of. I think it's great. So I just want to go through a couple more events before we get to the questions. This is Woodward, Oklahoma, Wichita, Kansas, tornadoes. Wildfires from Long Island to Colorado Springs, Michigan tornado. Tropical Storm Beryl, and all the other cool things I've been able to do. Hang gliding, ice boat racing, rip currents, hosting a lot of fun things, and a recent story where I found a model in a poster that I wanted to know, and then they said, go ahead, go meet him. I love weather, so. All right, I know we have only a certain amount of time, so I want you guys to be able to ask questions, if you have any. And he's from Kennesaw, Georgia, this guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He was found on MySpace, his prom pictures. I swear. He's 23 years old. He's been around the world 1 billion times. He's been in it for 6 years then, and he is a $6 million a year man. It's amazing. He is the coolest guy and one of the more beautiful I have ever met.
I guess I'll ask a question if nobody else is asking one. You mentioned a little bit that you haven't been home for Christmas in quite a while, and a little bit of that balance. I'm kind of curious, like, where would you draw the line when it comes to, I want to put all I can into my career, but at the same time I want to make sure that I still have a good family life? Like, what do you use to kind of judge that?
I'm terrible. I don't have a family life. I don't have anything. And there are a lot of days where that sits on my mind more than anything anywhere. And it's going to be, it doesn't matter what career you're in. You have to find a way to do that if it's important to you. So far, in this job, I can't do it. I would be the worst wife and the worst mother ever. It won't happen in this job. So I'm going to need to choose something else. So, this young man?
If you remember, how did you feel of the tornado outbreak of April 27th, 2011?
Yes. April 27th, I was not there. I wasn't working for ABC yet. But I did go down to Tuscaloosa right after, and I went with Storm Chasers, the show. So I was able to see the damage. But watching the coverage, I watched James Spann's coverage. I don't know how many of you watched it as well. It was just incredible. He was on nonstop, right? So that's how I stayed connected. I was up in Chicago. I was not happy that I wasn't being able to chase that day. But I was able to watch him and feel very connected. And April 27th is it's funny because in the weather community, you say dates, and people go, oh, they remember that. People in news or in the general population that don't have a vested interest in weather, they remember words, like Joplin. But if you say Tuscaloosa, it doesn't always connect as much. And there are a couple reasons. Time in life, time in when it happened, other news that came out around that time. That all matters. But watching that event 4, 5 days in advance, or even a little bit more, because that was another one where you didn't even have to be the best meteorologist to know that was going to be a big event. It's like that weird, scary feeling that you know something's going to happen and you want to tell people. So I'd say that's what I remember most about April 27th is I get really Tourette'sy when that happens, and I'm running around telling people, like, do you know this is going to happen on Friday? This is going to happen, whatever day it's going to be. Because I feel like that's what I don't know much about anything except for weather and TV. And that was what that moment meant to me personally. But of course, going down after, it's still, I'd say Katrina is on par because I covered Katrina from Gulfport. And that was a really terrible storm that took everything out. So it was very similar that way, over such a large area. Mm-hmm.
What would you do for a living if you weren't a meteorologist?
I think about this all the time. And once they put those grocery scanners in, I'm not kidding, I used to really want to at least work just scan those things. But they put that you scan yourself, and it's not as novel anymore. I don't know. I should probably think about that in case it goes downhill. Teaching, I love teaching. So if I could do any kind of teaching.
Hi, Ginger. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
The question, this probably gets a bit more to the students. Could you speak a little bit about, as you've ascended in your career, the role of a TV meteorologist having a background in meteorology versus students that maybe have a background in broadcast, but not necessarily a meteorology background? We've had some even discussions here at the university about that. What are you seeing? Are jobs requiring people to have more meteorology background, AMS, CDs,
yeah.
etc.?
Because so many people have them, and because they're out there, my students, every job they applied for, and this is within this last 6 months, you had to have a meteorology degree. So every single job, and that was Elmira, New York, Austin, Minnesota, all over the country. It didn't matter, Helena in Montana. That being said, it makes it even more difficult because your tape, and we were talking about this on the way here, your tape is what they're hiring you for. Now, if they loved your tape so much, but say you had only half of your meteorology degree, they might say, okay, well, you could finish up while you do this. That might happen still, but not very much, because all my students were both. They had the degree, and there were 12 of them out there right now. 6 of them just got jobs within the last 2 months, and it's so fun to watch because they do have it, and they're ready. So I think it's best to have it.
Yeah, and the point of reason, just a quick follow-up.
Mm-hmm.
So
No, I haven't seen anyone get hired that doesn't have a meteorology degree. I have seen I did half of it, and then I finished with journalism, but I'm going to go back and finish Mississippi State. That happens, and Mississippi State has changed their program so much that has become wonderful. And I've seen that. Or they start in reporting, and they're like, no, but I really always loved weather. And then they go do Mississippi State while they're working doing weather. A gal who worked in Chicago at Telemundo, she had always liked weather, but she had always just done entertainment news and things, all Spanish speaking. She's now working at Northeast Cable News in Boston, doing weather because she did her whole Mississippi State while she was working at Telemundo. So.
And I'll point out that 3 of our UGA graduates are on the faculty there.
Oh,
teaching. Yeah.
Cool.
2 professors and 1 instructor.
Oh, wow.
So we were their upgrade.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Thank you.
And I have a question about grad school.
Mm-hmm.
Does that help at all if you want to move into broadcasting?
No. I mean, that's the straight answer. No, especially for women. I'm going to be very blunt and very superficial, but 2 extra years in the business will help you much more than. But at the same time, who's to say I should have in Chicago gone and done something, maybe even started something online and done grad school that way. I think it helps you later. And it would help me now. I want to know more. I'm still wanting to learn more. And now I've bad timing that I am having a job that I'm traveling so much. But right at first, I would say no. No one cares. For other meteorology jobs, yes. Oh, yeah.
Sorry, this is going on TV right now.
Oh, hey.
So, can we just step out there for like
Sure. I'll be right back. Okay.
Sorry, my professors are like...
Okay, I'm back.
We're killing it.
Great. Nice work. They're stretching. Thank you guys for sticking around.
So I guess I was just going to ask you about your opinion on how our role is changing as like the station scientists. And I was saying before, like I think it's because of days like April 27th and March 2nd that people are seeing that it's more than just forecasting sunny skies or preparing at your picnic. It's giving life-saving information, and that still goes to a national level too. I mean, I know you said you're seeing that more in ABC, and I mean, how hard do you think it's going to be to keep that up? I think as more do it, maybe.
Right. As more do it, and as more do it well. And I think that's really the qualifying part. You have to have quality in it. So you have to have people who know what they're talking about, and you have to have, I'm finding now producers that could have cared less about the accuracy or whatever, not that they don't care about accuracy, but they just wanted to get something on television. It is very last minute. I'm finding now that they are calling me on my off days, and I told them, please do that. So the more people that we get involved in, and they will say to me, thank you for being so interested in this. I told you the story on the way up too, but I had a day, it must have been holiday-ish, July 4th or something, and Josh Elliott, who does our morning show on Good Morning America, he was anchoring World News. And I know Josh really well, and we're very friendly, so it's not like Diane's anchoring, so I don't feel quite as, she's such a force, right? And she's so amazing that you kind of feel that. Josh, I can be like, Josh, don't do that. So I'm upstairs in my office, which overlooks the studio, and I hear his booming voice reading the headlines, which will then go on television in an hour, saying, monster supercells on the way. This is the 4th of July. Monster supercells on the way for blah, blah, blah. There was a slight risk, like in the northern plains, for, I don't know, but definitely not monster supercells. And I ran down the stairs, and I said, Josh, stop. Don't put that on TV. Like, I broke in. I would have never done that to anybody else. I would have gone to the producers first. And then I went to the producers, and they think supercell is a really cool word because they learned that from me, so they think it's a really great word. This is where it gets scary because you have too many experts. They said, where did you guys read that? Where are you reading this? They're like, this is so embarrassing. One of them said, again, it's a holiday, so it's fill-in people. I went to weather.com, and there's this thing, it's a Torcon of this. I was like, oh. First, that's a private company. Second, it's our competition, so I wouldn't suggest. There's this thing, it's like nws.noaa.gov or spc.noaa.gov. They're great. Put those in your bookmarks. Check those out when you've got time. So that's the challenge, I think. But it's also cool because you can catch that, and then everybody really learned that day, I hope, what a supercell is. And I said it has to be, and I taught them exactly what it was. They've never heard of that before, and that's why you do. That's why we're going to have a job. So I'm really happy that they don't know, but that I'm able to tell them. So I think that's the future of it, is that, again, it's that education, But weather's exciting, and it affects every single person, and whether it's in a terrible, scary way or in a everyday way. I think that it's getting out there, and hopefully more and more people. And the point of me standing, people that ask, why are you standing in someone's house that's gone? I want people to know this is what weather can do. That's why we're standing there. It's not to rummage through their things and be weird. I mean, of course you get great stories and great human interest stories afterward, but I think that me standing there tells you more than anything else. Visually, to see a staircase only behind me shows you what that tornado can do. And when you have a tornado of that, now people are understanding more of what the EF scale is. And if we say there could be EF, if we give an idea of how strong the tornadoes or how many there would be the next day, that's going to be something that's never been done. I don't think it's done well certainly not on a national level, and a lot of times on a smaller level. I have long answers.
All right. Well, I think that's it.
Yeah.
Wraps up the questions.
Oh, there was one more?
Oh, there is one more? All right, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I come from a background as a meteorologist in the Navy, and I was interested to see what's happening to the industry.
Yeah.
Television has only one thing to make a profit, and that is time. And so they've got to fill it with something. So they've glamorized the beauty with the weather. And people today go all over this country, flying, driving. They need to know what the weather is. So it is here to stay. And the public is getting more savvy about what you're talking about when you forecast and tell them what's coming, because they know either to dress like this or change that trip. And so you've got to have the personality, the education background, and fit in with the system, the program, whatever channel. Because when the Weather Channel first came out, people thought they were crazy. But everybody wanted to know how they were going to dress, whether they were going to fly to Chicago or fly to New York. They wanted to know what the weather is. And everybody is interested in the human story that goes with weather. That's where the dynamics of the program comes in, and the personality of the person delivering it.
Right. And that's what, if I can add to that, that's something that I've gained from it, is I go to, again, whether the people lose their homes in flooding or in the tropical storms or in hurricane or in a tornado, everyone from every corner of this nation, because I haven't done any international work, but I imagine it all becomes very human, and everybody reacts the same way. They are so resilient. And it's so selfishly, it's such a great place for me to be, because it reminds me how much I have, how much we all have, and how wonderful people can be to each other. Because that's the time it comes out. That's the time when you lost your cell phone anyway, because it's gone, whether it's you lost it for a couple days or you lost your whole house with it. And things don't matter anymore. And that's the beautiful part of the terrible part of weather. So I agree. I think that that's the story that's never going to end. And we want to hear that story, and I want to tell people, I want to show people those stories. So hopefully I can keep doing that for some time.
Got another question up here.
Sorry.
Do you have any more questions?
Oh, there is one, yeah.
You give a lot of credit to your mom. What advice would you give me? Because I have a 9-year-old who is crazy about the weather, calls family members to warn them days in advance of storms, watches the episodes on the news on the computer over and over and over again. What kind of advice would you give? And is there anything anyone knows around here that I can get him involved in now or in the next few years?
Right.
And not have to wait till college to really get involved?
Well, I can speak to that a little bit. I'm sure they can help you out as well locally. But just in general, you're already doing it by being here. I mean, that's the most important thing, is just allowing him. What's your name?
Grayson.
Grayson? Nice to meet you. Allowing him to connect to people, because, again, it's the same as networking as anything. Is if Grayson is in New York City at any point, you guys are more than welcome to come to our weather center. And this is how you get that. So then you go to your local meteorologist or the Weather Channel, and you get those relationships where you shake their hand, and then Grayson gets to meet them. And in 10 years, Grayson's going to be starting to go do an internship, and he can be like, remember me? And he can keep in touch with them. I have one young lady who came in as a sophomore. This is when you start feeling older. She came as a sophomore in high school, and she wanted to do a job shadow. And I had her come. She came once a year to job shadow me. And I always let her come in. She is graduating from Valparaiso because she wanted to go do what I did, and she just got her first job. So I've watched her through this whole process, and someone can watch Grayson through his whole process, whatever part of meteorology, if he wants television, if he wants this other part. Sounds like you already got the warning part down. So, so I would say make those relationships happen, because he can't email them, but you can. And I'd say that would be the first thing, is just to get as much exposure to anything weather. You guys could probably go visit the Weather Service, I imagine, in Peachtree. Oh, you've been already. Oh, never mind. Yeah, the schools. Yeah, that stuff. And then just keep, Grayson won't lose it. You just have to keep. Right, right. So I almost wish I would have done more younger, too. I mean, not that it didn't hurt me or anything by any means, but the more you do, the more people you meet, and that's really what it's about. And I've learned, as hard as it is sometimes, because I was shy for a long time, as hard as it is to be the person to stick out your hand and want to meet someone, that conversation always turns into something, whether it's most of the time good, sometimes not, you know, but it can't be bad. So I think that's the most important part to remember. Good luck, Grayson. Don't take my job. Oh, okay. We're good. We'll have a ratings competition.
All right. Well, first of all, the entire chapter at the University of Georgia AMS kindly, we really appreciate you being here.
Oh, you guys are
we
awesome.
really love you having you here. Give her a round of applause. Thank you so much.
Athens is beautiful, by the way, if I can say that. I haven't been. I've been to Atlanta quite a bit, but I haven't been. So thank you for exposing my REM and B-52s. I had a whole history lesson, and I'm very well versed. Yes, and he's a musician.
And also, I just wanted to announce, next month, the University of Georgia, our chapter, we're inviting Brian Norcross from the Weather Channel. He's going to be speaking to us in November. All our information will be posted on our websites. But I also want to just say thanks again.
Thank you.
And after this, you can take pictures, ask questions if you'd like. She'll be around. So thank you so much.
Thank you.